The sun burned hot over the red sands of Karun, a small alien city on the edge of the Empire. Hundreds of alien citizens stood in a wide circle. Their eyes were full of hate. Their hands held stones. In the center of the circle, tied to a wooden post, stood a young alien girl. Her skin was pale blue, and her clothes were torn. She looked weak. She looked alone. No one helped her. No one spoke for her. Her name was Zari. The crowd shouted loudly. She is a traitor. She helped a human. She must pay. Zari did not cry. She kept her head down, her long white hair falling over her face. Her arms were tied above her head. Her legs shook, but she stood still. She had already been beaten. Her lip was bleeding. Her eyes were black and swollen, but still, she said nothing. In the crowd, standing quietly, was a human. His name was Captain Drew Carter. He wore a simple brown jacket, and his face was half covered with a scarf. No one noticed him. Not yet. Drew's eyes did not leave Zari. He remembered her. Weeks ago, Drew had been injured during a mission near the border. He was lost, bleeding, and could not walk. That night, when even his own people had left him behind, a shadow moved from the rocks. It was Zari. She gave him water. She tore her own scarf to tie his wound. She hid him in a cave for 2 days, feeding him small pieces of bread. She said nothing. She just helped. Now, she was being punished for that. A stone hit Zari's leg. She fell to her knees. The crowd cheered. Another stone hit her shoulder. She cried out, but still didn't beg for mercy. She's not even fighting back. Someone said, she's weak. Another shouted. Drew stepped forward. 1 step, then another. His heart was racing. He could hear his own breath. His hand shook. He didn't know what he was doing, but his legs moved anyway. Another stone flew through the air. Drew ran. The stone hit him in the side of the head. The crowd gasped. Everyone stopped. Zari looked up. Her swollen eyes widened. Drew stood in front of her, arms wide. Blood ran down the side of his face. He looked at the people. Stop, he shouted. She did nothing wrong. The aliens stared at him in silence. Then they saw the human features on his face, his skin, his voice. He was not one of them. It's the human, someone cried. He came back. Another yelled, get him. Guards moved fast, long black sticks in their hands, sparks flying from the tips. Zari tried to speak. No, but her voice was weak. Drew turned to her. I'm sorry, he said softly. I couldn't let them hurt you anymore. The guards reached them. One of them hit Drew in the back with the electric rod. He fell to the ground, shaking. Blood spilled from his mouth. Another guard pulled Zari by the hair. You are both enemies now, he growled. The leader of the guards, an alien with 4 eyes and sharp teeth, looked at Drew. You could have stayed free, he said. Why save a girl who is not your kind? Drew looked up, his face full of pain but his voice strong. Because she saved me first. The crowd was quiet now. No one spoke. No one threw more stones. Some even lowered their heads in shame. The guard leader gave an order. Take them both to the prison below the city. Let them rot there. Drew and Zari were dragged away, both bleeding, both broken but still alive, as the doors of the dark prison closed behind them. No one in the crowd noticed a hooded figure slipping away into the shadows. That figure whispered into a hidden communicator. The human has made his move. It's time. Prepare the others. The prison was cold, dark, and full of pain. Thick metal walls blocked out all light, and the air smelled of rust and blood. Water dripped slowly from the ceiling. In one of the small, dirty cells, 2 figures sat on the floor, side by side. Captain Drew Carter leaned against the wall. His face was bruised. Blood had dried under his nose. His left arm didn't move, likely broken. Still, his eyes stayed open, watching the cell door. Beside him sat Zari, the alien girl. Her body was weak, but she sat close to Drew. Her arms had purple bruises, Her lip was cut. Her long white hair was dirty and tangled. She had not spoken since the guards threw them inside. Hours passed in silence. Finally, Zari whispered, "Why? Did you save me?" Drew turned his head slowly. "Because you saved me." Zari shook her head. "You could have walked away. No one would have stopped you. You're not one of us." "I know," Drew said, "but you didn't walk away from me that night, remember?" Zari looked down at the floor. "I didn't expect you to return the favor, especially not in front of the whole city. I couldn't let them keep hurting you," Drew said. His voice was soft but full of fire. "No one should suffer like that. You showed me kindness when I was bleeding and helpless. That matters." Zari closed her eyes. A tear rolled down her cheek. "Kindness is not allowed here." Drew gave a tired smile. "Then maybe it's time someone changed that." Suddenly, the cell door opened with a loud metallic creak. A tall alien guard stepped in. His armor was black, and his eyes were cold. He pointed at Drew. "You come." Two guards grabbed Drew and dragged him out of the cell. Zari tried to stand, but was too weak. "Where are you taking him?" she cried. No one answered. In a dimly lit room, Drew was pushed into a chair. Across from him sat a high-ranking alien, official, dressed in silver robes. His face was calm, but his voice was sharp. "You are not a citizen of this planet," the alien said. "You had no reason to interfere, so why did you protect her?" Drew looked up slowly. She did the same. "For me once." The alien official narrowed his eyes. "She is a criminal, a traitor. She broke the law by helping you. That's a crime punishable by death. And you're proud of that?" Drew asked, his voice steady. The alien stood. "Your kind are dangerous. You think with emotion, not with order. You act without thinking." "I thought about it," Drew said, "and I chose to do the right thing." The official leaned forward. "Tell me, human, what do you really want?" Drew stared at him. "I want her free. I want your people to stop punishing kindness." The alien laughed. "You are in no position to demand anything." "I'm not demanding," Drew replied. "I'm warning you. People like me don't forget. And people like her, they rise." Back in the cell, Zari sat alone. She feared the worst. She thought they would hurt Drew, or worse, kill him. But after what felt like hours, the door opened again. Drew was thrown inside. He landed hard but smiled when he saw her. "You're alive," she cried. "Barely," he joked. Coughing, she helped him sit up. "What did they ask?" "They wanted to know why I helped you," he said. "I told them the truth." Zari nodded. "They won't let us leave, Drew." "I know," he said, "but we won't be here forever." She looked confused. "What do you mean?" He leaned closer. "When they took me out, I saw something. There's another prisoner." He looked at me and tapped his fingers 3 times on the wall. "It's a rebel signal." Zari's eyes widened. "The silent ones." Drew nodded. "They're here. Maybe they can help us escape." Zari breathed deeply. For the first time in days, she felt a small light inside her hope. Outside the cell, in a far corner of the prison, a group of prisoners sat quietly. One of them, a scar-faced alien with glowing eyes, spoke into a tiny communicator hidden in his sleeve. "The human protected her," he said. "He's not like the others. He may be the one we've been waiting for." "From the other side, eh?" Voice replied. "Then prepare the plan. We move at nightfall." The prison halls were always quiet, but that night, the silence felt strange, like something was waiting in the shadows. Inside the cell, Drew sat close to the wall, running his fingers across the cold stone. He tapped 3 times, then waited. Nothing happened. Zari sat beside him, watching with tired eyes. "Maybe you were wrong," she whispered. "Maybe it wasn't a signal." Drew didn't answer right away. He looked at her and said, "We don't have many chances left. If there's even a small hope, I have to try." Zari sighed. "Hope?" It is dangerous here. Suddenly, tap, tap, tap. Both of them froze. From the wall behind them, 3 soft knocks came back. Zari's eyes widened. Drew stood up quickly and pressed his ear to the wall. A low voice came through the stone. Stay awake tonight. When the lights go dark, look for the mark under the bed. Then silence again. Drew looked at Zari. We're not alone in here. Later that night, the prison lights flickered once, twice, then died. The hall went pitch black. It was time. Drew reached under the rusty bed frame and felt around. His fingers touched something, a small metal square. He pulled it out. It was a thin blade, just sharp enough to cut rope or pick a lock. Zari whispered, "Who gave us this?" "The Silent Ones," Drew answered. Zari single quotes, S voice shook. "I thought they were just a myth. Old rebels hiding from the government." "They're real," Drew said. "And they've been watching us." Double quotes suddenly. The cell door clicked. Then slowly, it opened. No guards. No sound. Just darkness. Drew stepped out first. The hallway was empty. Zari followed, holding onto the wall. Her legs were weak, but her eyes were sharp now. Her fear was slowly turning into strength. Then, a voice whispered from the dark corner. "This way." A tall alien man stepped out from the shadows. His face was covered with a black scarf, and one of his eyes glowed green. He held up a hand to show he meant no harm. "I am Ravik," he said. "I lead the Silent Ones here." Drew didn't speak. He simply nodded. Ravik turned and led them down a narrow hallway that smelled of old smoke and metal. At the end was a broken vent. He crawled inside, and Drew and Zari followed. After a few minutes, they reached a small room hidden behind the old storage chamber. Inside were 4 other rebels, alien prisoners, young and old, all looking serious. Ravik looked at Drew. "You stood for her in front of the whole city. You didn't run." "That is rare." "I don't care about being rare," Drew said. "I care about getting her out of here." Ravik nodded. "And we will, but not yet." Zari frowned. "Why not now?" "Because the gate only opens once in 3 days," Ravik explained. "There is a secret passage that leads out of the prison, but it can only be unlocked when the outer patrol changes. Until then, we stay hidden." Drew looked around. "What do you need from us?" "You've already given it," Ravik replied. "Hope. The guards fear humans who act without orders, and they fear kindness. Your actions sparked something. The time to rise is near." Later, Drew sat alone in the corner, thinking. His body ached, but his mind was awake. Zari sat beside him. "You trust them?" she asked softly. "I don't know," Drew said, "but we don't have many friends left." Zari was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "You know, I used to believe in peace. My father was a teacher. He told me that one day, humans and aliens would walk together." "What happened to him?" Drew asked. "They burned our home," she said, "for teaching forbidden ideas." Drew placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then we fight for him too." Meanwhile, far above in the prison tower, a guard noticed something strange. Cell 9B was empty. He ran to report it, but as he turned the corner, someone grabbed him from behind, fast and silent. The Silent Ones were already in motion. Back in the hideout, Ravik handed Drew a small map. "Study this. When the time comes, we move quickly. One mistake, and we all die." Drew took the map. His eyes were full of fire now. "We won't fail." Zari stood beside him. "Not this time." As they prepared for the coming escape, none of them knew that someone was watching them from the shadows, waiting to betray them all. The prison was still dark, but not silent anymore. Guards were moving. Lights were being checked. One prisoner had gone missing from another cell. Something was wrong, and the guards could feel it. Inside the rebels' hidden room, Drew, Zari, and Ravik sat around a small table. The map was spread out in front of them. Ravik pointed. "This tunnel Under the old storage unit opens in 2 days, during shift change. That's our way out, but we'll only have 5 minutes. Drew nodded. We'll be ready, but Zari looked uneasy. Something's not right. I feel it. Just then, a soft knock came at the metal wall. 3 quick taps. Then silence. Everyone froze. Ravik moved to the wall and opened a tiny slit. A young rebel stood outside whispering, "Drew, there's someone asking for him, alone." Drew stood. "Who?" "The prison commander," the boy said. "He sent a message. He wants to talk to you. Tonight. No guards. No traps. Just talk." Zari stood up quickly. "It's a trick. Don't go." But Drew was already reaching for his boots. "I'll go," he said calmly. "If he wanted me dead, he wouldn't ask for a meeting." Later that night, Drew followed the rebel boy through quiet, shadowy halls. They passed 2 sleeping guards and slipped through a hidden door into a narrow tunnel. At the end of the tunnel was a small room, lit by a single yellow lamp. There, standing tall and still, was Commander Varlin, the prison's highest-ranking officer. His skin was gray, his eyes deep red, and his long cloak dragged behind him like a shadow. He turned as Drew entered. "You came," Varlin said. "That shows courage, or stupidity." "I've been called both," Drew answered, staying near. The door.varl on didn't smile. He pointed to a chair. "Sit, we talk." Drew didn't move. "Say what you need to say." Varlin sighed. "You are a human soldier. You could have escaped this planet long ago. Instead, you're stuck in a prison, hiding with rebels, protecting an alien girl." "She saved my life," Drew replied. "I don't forget things like that." Varlin nodded slowly. "Loyalty, I understand it, but it's also dangerous." Then, his voice turned cold. "I'm offering you a deal." Drew raised an eyebrow. "A deal?" "Yes. You walk out of here, we let you go, no questions asked. You get a ship, food, and safe passage back to your people." "And the price?" Drew asked. "You leave the girl behind," Varlin said without emotion. "You forget about her, and about the rebels. You go back to your world and live." Drew didn't speak. Varlin stepped closer. "She will die, Drew, either in this prison, or during your foolish escape attempt. You can't protect her forever." Drew clenched his fists. "You're afraid of her?" Varlin's eyes narrowed. "She is dangerous. Not because of strength, but because of hope. She gives people ideas. People like you." Drew took a deep breath. "She helped me when no one else did. I owe her my life. I won't trade her for my freedom." Varlin's voice dropped to a whisper. "Then you both die." Drew looked straight into his eyes. "Then we die with honor." He turned and walked out without another word. Back in the hidden room, Zari was pacing nervously. The others were quiet. When Drew returned, she ran to him. "What happened?" "He offered me a deal," Drew said. "Freedom. A ship. All I had to do was leave you behind." Zari looked at the floor. "And did you consider it?" Drew smiled softly. "Not even for a second." Zari's eyes filled with tears. She turned away, hiding her face. Revik stepped forward. "That confirms it," he said. "They know we're planning something, and they're scared. Good. But it also means they'll tighten security," Drew said. "We need to move carefully." Ravik nodded. "We have 2 days. We spend every hour preparing." Later, as the others slept, Zari sat beside Drew in the quiet room. "Why do you risk so much for me?" she asked. Drew looked up at the cracked ceiling. "Because when you helped me, you didn't ask why. You just did it. That's rare in any world." Zari looked at him, her voice soft. "They think I'm dangerous, but I was only trying to help, and that's exactly what makes you powerful," Drew said. "People will follow someone who cares." In the shadows outside, a small insect-shaped spy drone flew silently near the door. "Recording everything," Someone was watching them, and someone was getting ready to betray them all. The day had finally arrived. Inside the hidden room, Drew, Zari, and the Silent Ones stood around a small table, staring at the hand-drawn map. Every path, every tunnel, every door had been studied again and again. Now, there was no time left for plans. Revik looked at the group. The outer patrol changes in 20 minutes. That's our window. He pointed to the old drainage tunnel on the map. The gate will unlock for 5 minutes. Once we enter, the alarm will trip. After that, we either run or die. Drew tied a dirty scarf around his neck and checked a small knife hidden in his boot. What about weapons? Only what we carry, Ravik replied. We travel light, quiet. Zari stood silently, her face pale but calm. She was no longer the weak girl tied to a post. Now, her eyes held fire. Drew looked at her. You ready? She nodded once. Yes. The group moved through the dark tunnels under the prison. The air was heavy and smelled of rot. Their footsteps were slow and silent. Every sound felt louder than it was. A sudden voice came through Ravik's earpiece. Guards changing. Go, now. They picked up speed. Drew helped Zari over a broken pipe. Another rebel lifted a metal plate, revealing a hole in the floor. One by one, they climbed down. They were now inside the old drainage tunnel. The sound of dripping water echoed all around. The walls were narrow. They had to move sideways in some parts. But they didn't stop. Then they reached the iron gate. It was huge, rusty, and locked with 3 bolts. Revik pulled out a small tool from his coat. He inserted it into the side panel. Sparks flew. Click. One lock opened. Click. Another lock turned. Then suddenly, a loud alarm rang out through the tunnel. Someone had triggered the system. It's too early, one rebel shouted. We've been betrayed, Ravik growled. Zari gasped. They're coming. Footsteps and shouting echoed behind them. Drew pushed forward, opened the last lock. Now, Ravik forced the tool again. The panel sparked. A red light flashed, then click. The gate opened. Go, Ravik shouted. They ran through the gate into a wider tunnel. On the other side was a metal ladder that led up to the surface. One by one, the rebels began climbing. Suddenly, a loud voice echoed from behind. Stop. Surrender now, or be shot. 3 guards appeared at the far end of the tunnel, weapons raised. Drew turned and pulled a pipe from the ground. Go, I'll hold them, Zari shouted. No. But it was too late. Drew rushed at the guards, swinging the pipe. He knocked one of them down. The others fired. A blast of heat grazed his arm. Zari turned and ran back. We're not leaving him. She picked up a rock and threw it, hitting one guard in the face. Another rebel joined her, pulling Drew back. Ravik covered them with a small energy shield from his wrist. They all climbed the ladder. Fast. At the top was a steel door. Zari punched the code they had memorized. Beep. Click. The door swung open. Fresh air rushed in, the first real breath of freedom in weeks, but they had no time to enjoy it. More guards were coming from the guard towers above. Ravik pointed to the left. That way, to the cliff. They ran. Across the rocky field, wind in their faces, alarms blaring behind them. Searchlights danced across the ground. In the distance, hidden behind boulders, a small old transport ship waited, half broken, but ready. Ravik pressed a button on his wrist. Start the engine. The ship's engines hummed to life. Drew and Zari ran side by side. He was limping. She supported him. Almost there, he whispered. Just then, a blast hit the ground near them. Dirt flew everywhere. Guards had reached the cliff edge. They opened fire. One rebel was hit and fell. Another dragged him into the ship. Zari screamed, "Get in, now." Drew threw himself inside as the door closed. Inside the ship, rebels pushed buttons. pulling levers. Lift off. Go. The ship rose slowly, shaking as it left the ground. Outside, the guards kept shooting. Inside, everyone held their breath. Finally, the ship broke through the upper clouds. They were in the sky. They had escaped, but Zari's heart was still heavy. She looked back through the window. The prison was now far below, but the pain was still close. Drew sat beside her, holding his bleeding arm. "We made it," he said softly. Zari turned to him. "This isn't over." He smiled, tired but proud. "No, this is just the beginning." Above them, stars lit the night sky. But they didn't know that danger still followed them, and someone on board was not who they claimed to be. The ship flew through the night sky, shaking from the damage it had taken during the escape. Inside, it was crowded, hot, and tense. Drew sat near the back, his arm wrapped in cloth. Blood had soaked through, but he didn't complain. Beside him sat Zari, her face focused, her mind racing. They had escaped the prison but not yet the danger. Ravek came into the cabin and looked around. "We lost 2 good people," he said. "But we made it out. That means something." The others nodded. Some were wounded, some too tired to speak. But their eyes were alive. Drew asked, "Where are we going?" "To the cliffs of Baron," Ravik said. "A rebel camp is hidden there. We can rest, repair the ship, and plan our next move." Zari stood up. "What about the tracker?" Everyone turned to her. "What tracker?" Ravik asked. Zari looked around, her voice calm but serious. "There's no way they knew we were escaping. Someone told them. Someone close." Silence filled the room. Drew slowly reached into his boot and pulled out a small metal piece, something he had found stuck to his leg after the fight. It was a tracker. He held it up. "They knew where we were because of this." Ravik's face darkened. "Someone on this ship betrayed us." Just then, an alarm rang through the ship. "Warning. Enemy ship approaching." Everyone jumped up. "Zar." I ran to the cockpit and looked out the window. A large black military ship was flying toward them fast. It was marked with the symbol of the Empire. Drew joined her. "How did they find us this fast?" "There's another tracker," Zari said. "It's still on board." Ravik shouted, "Check everyone now." The rebels moved quickly, searching clothes, bags, tools. Tension grew with every passing second. Then, a sharp voice cut through the noise. "Stop, everyone." Turned, it was Marek, one of the younger rebels. He was standing near the engine room with a blaster in his hand and he was pointing it at Zari. "It was me," he said. Gasps filled the cabin. Ravik's eyes narrowed. "Why? They promised me freedom," Marek said. "I didn't want to die in that prison." "You sold us out," Zari said, her voice steady. "You let 2 of our people die. They were already dead the moment they followed you," Marek shouted. Drew stepped forward. "Put the weapon down, Marek." Marek's hand shook. He looked scared now. "You don't understand. I didn't want this. I just wanted to be safe." "There's no safety in betrayal," Ravik said coldly. Suddenly Marek fired, but not at them. He turned and shot the ship's engine controls. Sparks flew. The ship rocked violently. Then Marek ran toward the emergency pod at the back of the ship. Drew followed him. "Fast. Car," I shouted. "Don't go alone." But Drew didn't stop. He caught Marek just before he reached the pod. The 2 struggled. The pod door opened, wind rushing in. Marek pulled a knife and slashed Drew's side. Drew grabbed his arm, twisted, and knocked the knife away. "You don't get to run," Drew growled, with one strong push. He threw Marek to the ground and closed the pod behind him. Zari and Ravik arrived. Marek was on his knees, breathing hard. "I just wanted to live," he said. Zari looked at him, pain in her eyes. "You gave up your soul to save your skin." Ravik stepped forward. "Tie him up. He'll face judgment later. But now, A new danger was near. The enemy ship had locked onto them. "We're out of time," the pilot yelled. "They'll shoot us down if we don't land now." Drew grabbed the intercom. "Prepare for a crash landing. Hold on." The ship dived toward the cliffs. Zari held Drew's hand tightly. "Whatever happens, stay with me. Always," he said. The ship hit the ground hard, sliding across rocky soil. Metal screamed. Sparks flew, then dashed silence. The ship had stopped. Smoke rose from the broken engines. Drew coughed, pulling Zari out of the wreck. Behind them, the rebels climbed out one by one, but the enemy wasn't far. From the sky, a small force of soldiers began landing. Revik raised his weapon. "This is where we stand." Drew looked at Zari. "Run if you have to." Zari shook her head. "I won't leave you. Not again." Together, side by side, they stood at the front line. The soldiers came closer, but Drew and Zari didn't move. Behind them, the rebels formed a wall. This was no longer a prison break. This was a war, and they were ready to fight. The air was filled with dust and smoke. Drew stood in front of the broken ship, his shirt torn, blood on his side. Beside him, Zari held a stolen blaster. Her hands were shaking, but her eyes were strong. Behind them, the remaining rebels stood shoulder to shoulder, tired, wounded, ready down the hill. Enemy soldiers were marching closer. Their black armor reflected the morning sun. They moved in silence, cold, organized, deadly. Ravik spoke first. "They outnumber us." Drew looked at him. "Then we make every shot count." Zari took a deep breath. "This is our land too. We don't run anymore." A rebel handed her a small device. "This is a signal beacon," he said. "It can call for help, if help still exists." Zari pressed the button. A soft blue light blinked high above the clouds. In the deep silence of space, the signal spread like a ripple through water. It moved fast, searching for anyone listening. Back on the ground, the enemy commander raised his hand. "Attack." Dozens of soldiers began to charge. The rebels opened fire. Blaster shots lit up the cliffs. Rocks exploded. Dust flew into the sky. Drew ducked behind a boulder and fired carefully. Every shot mattered. Zari stayed low, helping a wounded rebel move to safety. Her movements were quick, focused. She was no longer a prisoner. She was a leader. One soldier came close. Drew stepped in front of Zari and fought him hand to hand. It was fast, brutal. Drew won, but barely. "Are you okay?" Zari asked. "Still breathing," he replied, smiling through the pain. But things were getting worse. More enemy troops arrived. The rebels were losing ground. A voice shouted from above. "We're surrounded." Drew looked around. They couldn't hold out much longer. Then, something changed. A loud humming sound filled the sky. Everyone looked up. Dark shapes began to appear above the clouds. Ships, not enemy ships. These were old rebel crafts, painted with red stripes, the symbol of the forgotten fleet. Revik's eyes widened. They came. The rebel ships flew low and fast. Missiles fired down at the enemy soldiers. Explosions shook the ground. The enemy lines broke. One of the rebel ships landed behind Drew's group. Its doors opened. A tall alien woman stepped out, dressed in royal armor. Her face looked like Zari's mother. Zari whispered. The woman nodded. "You've done well, my daughter." Gasps spread among the rebels. Drew looked at Zari in shock. "You're a princess." Zari nodded slowly. "I was, once, before. They took everything." Her mother stepped forward. "She never stopped being one. You all stood with her. Now, we stand with you." Rebel forces stormed the battlefield. The enemy was pushed back, outnumbered now. Drew and Zari led the final charge. The enemy commander tried to run, but Drew caught him. "You lost," Drew said. "Not because of weapons, because of hearts." He knocked the man out with one punch. After the battle, The cliffs were quiet again. Smoke floated gently through the air, but the sun had come out. The sky was blue. Rebels worked together to clean the area and help the wounded. Ships landed with supplies, doctors, and tools. Zari stood on a high rock, looking down at everything. She was no longer just a girl who had been tied to a post. She was a symbol. She was hope. Drew walked up beside her. His shirt was still torn, and his wounds were still healing, but he smiled. "You started a war," he joked. Zari laughed softly. "No, we started a future." He looked at her, serious now. "What happens next?" Zari pointed to the crowd. "We rebuild. We protect those who were forgotten. We lead." Drew nodded, and me. Zari turned to him, her voice soft. "You walk beside me, if you want to." Drew smiled. "Always." As the sun set behind the mountains, a new flag was raised on the cliffs, the symbol of unity between species, humans and aliens, standing together. Below, children ran. Soldiers smiled. A new world had begun. Once they had thrown stones at the alien girl. Now, they cheered for her now. She had risen, and with her, the forgotten had finally returned.